Hello, YouTube. Welcome. This is Dan, and we are going in once again for another video on Lake of Voices. If this is your first video, I suggest actually going to one of my other Lake of Voices videos, because on this one, I am going to focus in on it to one of the characters, particularly Margret. We are going for a Margret run today, and if this is still your first video and you have not moved on, be warned, this is going to contain tons and tons of spoilers, so please watch my first one with man, what did I name that? I forget. But the first one, I think it was Altruistic Kikka. Yes, that was the one. Please go back and watch that one instead, as that is going to be the one that we actually go through the story. It's going to be a shorter one, but then you can move on to Bemelle, and then some of the other ones that we have going on there. But this one is going to be concentrated on Margret. What I will be doing is I will be going through the story, and we will be going through and skipping dialogue, mostly for the choices that I've already seen. So, with that said, we are going to skip through the dialogue. We're going to focus on Margret, and I will be doing something different today than I do usually in the past. With what I do normally in the past is I save kind of whenever my gut tells me I should save, but this time I'm going to save at each of the choices that we're going to go through, and the reason for that is this is not my first, second, or even third run of Lake of Voices. And one of my viewers, my subscribers, had suggested to me that, sometimes instead of ducking and weaving like you think you want to and you should be doing, sometimes you just gotta not be there. Instead, like, maybe one choice seems like the right choice and maybe is the right choice, but then sometimes you got to go do the other choice. So a game like this with so many variations, you need to kind of pick and choose your saves so that you can go back to some of them, because like with so many different paths, your choice really does make a difference. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully, because it's going to require me to remember, and I'm not really known for my memory. So what we will do is, as I'm able to, I will remember to save, or not remember to save, but I will try to save. And again, we will focus on Margret. What we're also going to try to do is try to keep Bemelle alive, I think, because there was this thing when we were trying to go through with Bemelle in Bemelle 1, and Bemelle had such a breakdown with nobody else surviving that we couldn't get the good ending with him. We needed at least to have Margret with us to survive for us to get his good ending. And I say good ending, in air quotations, because when you're crossing Sinnlos, is anything ever really good? Because it's always going to be something bad. So I don't know if we are required to have Bemelle be alive with us in order to get Margret's good ending, but considering that I've had multiple viewers make comments to me saying that they love Bemelle and that he is their favorite character, we're going to try to keep him alive. So there are a few choices where I can make that end up with his death, and we're going to try to avoid that for their sake, and we'll see where we turn out from there. All right, so enough with the babble, I suppose, and we'll continue on. And we will skip forward, and we're going to compliment Margret, because she is trying to better herself, gain confidence, create a position for herself in the world, and that's why she's crossing Sinnlos. So I think if we were to praise her here, that would be a long way in going to try to get her good ending. So we'll go with that.
It's been years since...
And we should go.
I believe you.
Because there's no point in playing the game if we're not going to cross Sinnlos, right? Because then we just go straight through. And there's nothing there. Yeah, so we're going to choose to go cross Sinnlos. Otherwise, there's not much of a game. All right. And we're going to, I guess, I don't know if we need to actively be cold to Bemelle. I don't know if that's an option, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to choose the options that cause Bemelle and Kikka to ship. But then there's, I don't know, do they ship? I know they get closer at the very least, but we're not going to go over the options that do that. We're just going to be very strictly platonic. We are work buddies, we're work colleagues, and that's all we are. Oh, and let's pull Bemelle so he doesn't die, please. Thank you. All right, for all of you commenters that love Bemelle, that one was for you. Okay, got it. You're welcome. Cue Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson singing that song. You're welcome. All right, kick it off because we want Kikka to survive. I want her to keep the game going. Let's see. All right, let me save here. All right, so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start on page 3, so it's away from everything else. And I think this will be the first time we do this, but Margret is suggesting or offering that us, Kikka, and Bemelle take the middle position between herself and the guide, so that she is in the tail or trailing position. And normally, I don't do that. Normally, I have Kikka and Bemelle in the back because they're the guards. They are trained. They have much more physical capability. They have, they are more capable. They're just physically more capable than Margret. She's much more of the bookworm. However, in previous runs, we have found that the reason why Margret is even going through Sinnlos at all is because why would you do this? Like, willingly. Her reasoning isn't anything so altruistic as to say, oh, I have to go and save somebody that's on the other side and I can't afford those 2 days that it takes to go around, or, you know, something on the other side requires me to be there and I have to rush because time is of the essence. Nothing like that. She's doing it for herself, her own reasons. And usually that's a very noble thing, a very good thing to try to better yourself, to make things better for yourself. You know, be better than you were yesterday. And that's great and all, but for her, she's doing it because she feels like there's no place for her in the world, that she is a woman born at a time where women like her have no place. She is not physically like the big capable person like Kikka, who is a guard, and she doesn't have the skills that traditionally women of the time would have, like, you know, like cooking, cleaning, all that stuff. She's a bookworm. She has her intelligence, and that is her skill, but that is not something that is looked upon favorably in this time, especially during this time, because intelligence isn't really something that is a survival skill here. It's more of a brute strength kind of a place where what gets you by is the ability to hunt, to forage, to defend yourself and stuff like that. And she just doesn't have that, so she doesn't feel like there's any place for her. And somehow she's got it in her mind that her intelligence would make her a better guide than the guide. I mean, just because the guide, he doesn't have a very good reputation because, as we've seen in previous runs, he's kind of a jerk, an ass, so to speak. But it's like she thinks she could do better. And yeah, I would say a lot of times, if you think you can do better, put up or shut up. And she's kind of trying to do that, but mostly for like a selfish reason. And so here we are. So ultimately, with all of that said, I think what we're going to do is we're going to allow her to take the trailing position, which is a very dangerous position because she doesn't have anybody to help her should anything go wrong, because she's at the end. And if she falls behind, then things could go badly. Which, thinking about it now, might actually happen given what happens later. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I think that this is going to make a big difference. So we're going to go with having Margret in the back, Kikka and Bemelle in the middle. So I'm kind of anxious right now. I'm kind of anxious. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want her to die. So, but to be fair, let's give it a shot and we'll see where we go. All right. I mean, if we end up dying, I don't know if I want to keep it as a separate video or if I just restart and make it all one video. We'll find out. We'll see. Depends on how short the run goes, if that is the case. So we'll see. All right. We'll move up. Margret stands slightly off to the side to let us pass. Careful not to get too close to the water's edge.
Thank you kindly, Margret.
I nod at her. Bemelle and I position ourselves a few feet away from the guide, and in no time, we've fallen into step in our new positions. Uh-oh. This doesn't seem good.
So, I don't want to sound like a child, but how much longer until we arrive at the halfway point?
Margret chuckles, reflecting the amusement I don't want to vocalize.
We still have some ways to go.
Damn.
Man, Bemelle, dude, I don't know. You're just like... It's like, has anybody seen The Witcher? You know, the Netflix version with Henry Cavill? Like, what he just said here, Bemelle said, damn, kind of reminds me of when Geralt says a different word. I'm not going to say it, because YouTube, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. And I don't know, it just reminded me, and it was like, I don't know, it's just funny. I think it's funny. I suppressed my laughter yet again at this pouting response. The gloom we've been under dissipates slightly, like light flickering through the fog.
The first trial tends to be the most difficult. I believe we will only react better from this point on.
There we go, Margret getting positive.
I like the way you think.
He's so positive too. It's just so sad, you know, in some, well, definitely in the first run when he gets so depressed. I don't know, it just seems like he's such a different guy. But I guess if you had your world turned upside down and you didn't know up from left from sideways, I guess you would be in the same position too. So I can't say I can argue or speak differently than to... I don't know. I just couldn't imagine being somebody who survived trying to cross Sinnlos. Ugh. It just gives me the creeps. Then a gleam enters Bemelle's eyes, and he grins.
I think Kikka deserves a round of applause. Her quick reflexes are owed the utmost appreciation.
Yeah, that's right. Kikka, main girl. He leans softly into my shoulder, trying to get me to... What?
It was indeed a sight. You're quite capable. Bemelle was also a sight, but for very different reasons. The way he froze with his mouth all agape was a laugh in itself.
You're gonna have to imagine that. I can only imagine what he looks like, just being like, whoa, yo, bro. Bemelle shakes a fist at Margret in mock anger, then shoots me an affectionate look.
You should know, she and I are usually on equal footing.
I feel like Bemelle is a subordinate. I don't think it's clearly pointed out. Kikka definitely has higher distinction, but whether her rank is higher, I don't know. They might be the same rank, but it just like seems like Kikka has more distinction or more honors. But Bemelle, he's pretty up there because they're both guards that are important and skillful enough that the two of them were sent to the other side to help with the brigands, and that's why the two of them are crossing Sinnlos. If either of them or neither of them were any good at their job, they would have sent a lot more people, right?
The only reason you had footing at all is because she pulled you back.
I think it's kind of funny that Margret has like, I don't know, it's got like kind of like this British accent, and I don't know, British people are supposed to sound smarter or something, because Kikka and Bemelle definitely have like an American accent to me, but that could just be me, what's the word, inflecting, so kind of like putting myself in their place, and Margret just definitely does have a different speech pattern than I do, so I just think that's interesting how, or American people, like British people, they're always like speak that way, and people instantly think that they're smarter. I don't know. It just, I'll just leave it at that. Bemelle laughs self-consciously, scratching his head.
That's very true. You can always count on Kikka.
Kikka, like I said, main girl. I keep my eyes steadily ahead, unsure how I should respond. I'm pleased, almost grateful to hear what they think of me, but I don't know what I could say that wouldn't seem pathetic. Instead, I contribute the best way I can. I keep my focus on the path ahead of us. Without a response from me, the conversation quickly dies out. Still, it eases my heart to be on such friendly terms with my companions. It's strange in the middle, watching over the guide. Until now, I didn't notice how smooth his movements are. There's a sense of grace to his actions, even in the basic task of walking down a bridge. I have to actively stop myself from being distracted by it. Yeah, like, he's this lean and, like, agile figure. It always made me think that he's maybe not even human, but with the last one, Bemelle 2 run, like, there are elements that make me think, well, maybe he is a human, or at the very least mortal, but I still don't know if he is, like, human. There's just a lot of things that make me question things about him, the way that the game words things about him in this description, but certainly there's a lot of mystery and intrigue behind him. Just some things just don't seem to add up, and I understand that that's the game trying to like get you to be like, ooh, you know, the guide, what do you know about him? Nothing. We know nothing. Suddenly, I notice the guide seems to be getting further away from us. He's speeding up. I do the same to match his pace and end up moving at a light jog.
Guide, why are we going faster?
He doesn't reply, doesn't even look back at me. Instead, his speed almost doubles. This is what I was talking about. This is not going to bode well for Margret right now, because she's not like a physical person, and you know that turn, I don't know how she's going to handle it because she didn't handle it before, but there is a little bit more reaction time now that she's at the end. I don't know, guys. How is this going to end? I glance back, worried, but Margret is keeping up with us. Woo! she worried me. The guide keeps moving faster and faster until finally we're at an all-out sprint. Figures in the dark fog fly past us at a blur, and it occurs to me the branching paths in the bridge appeared to be sinking. I swallow my rising panic. The guide shouts something, but is drowned out by the frantic pounding of her footsteps. I'm trying to piece together what he said. Don't stop. Turn? When he takes a masterfully sharp right down a path, using his own momentum and the sleek wood to slide into the new direction with no loss of speed. Despite the sudden turn, my reflexes enable me to keep close behind him.
We're making a right.
Oh, this is how... Okay, this is how Margret doesn't fall behind. Guys, do you remember before? In all the other runs, this is the first time I've done this where Kikka and Bemelle are in the middle, but always it's been Margret doesn't react quickly enough because she doesn't have the reflexes that Kikka does. So she ends up not turning, she just ends up going straight. So hopefully this helps Margret out. Helps your girl, you know? Bemelle is on my heels, following me to the turn. I glance back once more. Margret, although further behind than before, also makes the turn. Yes! Yes, she made it. We're all still together. That part in particular, was the part that I was very worried about for Margret because, I don't even know. As the night wears on, our strength rapidly fades. Even my stamina is being challenged. I can't imagine what this must be like for Margret. She's holding her side as she runs, clearly cramping from the exercise. I'm just laughing because I used to run track in high school, and I never really got used to running, even though literally that was the whole sport, running. And every time during practice, I would always have a side stitch, and I'd always be cramping, and I'd be like slight jog, holding my side, just like pained. And it's like we're only 15 minutes in, and it's like we got another 45 to like 55 minutes left of it was terrible. I don't know why I did it. I did it for a couple of years, and then after that I kind of just stopped. But I mean, running is good exercise. It's just, I don't know, I personally am not very good or like cardio, but it's so important in your health. I do need to get back to it though. Maybe not to the extent of my doing track days, but clearly Margret also needs to get into doing that. Margret, how about you and me? We'll go every afternoon. We'll take a quarter mile at a time, and then we'll just walk quarter mile. Eventually we'll get up to a point where we can run half a mile. How much longer will this last? People have to rest sometime. Almost as if in response to my thought, the guide abruptly halts. I skid to a stop as well, sliding on the surface of the wood.
Why did we stop?
Bemelle's voice is tired, but his guard is up. The guide doesn't answer, just stares at something slightly out of view. I step up to join him, following his gaze further down the path. It is Lou. Oh, Lou. Alright, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to save here. Because we're not going to take Lou with us. It honestly is just... I feel like with someone of such a fragile mind and weak constitution such as him, it is maybe not impossible, but certainly very difficult, or would be very difficult, to get him across to the other side at Sinnlos. And from the description of the game, it says you can't save everybody. I don't know if that's a literal, like, there is no way in the game to save him along with everyone else, but the game's description made it sound like definitely somebody's gonna die regardless of what you do. So I don't want Bemelle to die, and I obviously don't want Margret to die, so we're going to skip him. It's unfortunate, but I mean, the guide deemed him not ready, not capable of crossing Sinnlos, and yet he came out and did it anyways, tried to do it on his own. It's amazing he even got as far as he did, just, I don't know. I feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, there were many times and many decisions that he had to make, bad ones, to get to the point where he's at now. And there comes a point where what you do is a consequence of your own actions, your own decisions, and it's all on you. Sometimes there are things that are out of your control, that you have no choice but to make certain decisions. But he's had multiple options. Or maybe not options, but he had multiple opportunities, and he's still here. And even while we talk to him, he gives us multiple opportunities to try to help him, but he never reaches out for the help. So it's just, I feel bad for him, but at the same time, I kind of feel like it's bad wording, but he kind of got what he deserved. I don't know that he deserved it, to be honest. It's just he's just going through the consequences of the multiple decisions that he's made, and there's only so much empathy or sympathy, rather, that you can give to somebody who's made multiple or consistently made the exact wrong decision, which is what he's done. And yeah, I just feel bad for him as a person. It sucks, but we're going to skip him. All right, we're going to do nothing. We're just gonna let it go, because we're going to go with the guide. All right. So, actually, I'm gonna resave here, because I don't remember what the next decision will be. I think, we continue on, but will we stay in this same formation where Margret is at the end? This is going to be different for me, because we continue on, right? But eventually the guide comes up the path with some of the monsters up on the bridges, right? The prowlers, and that's when he sets the bridges on fire. So I wonder how this is gonna... Let's see how this turns out. Oh, they made it to... Okay, awesome. That's great. They made it to the other side. Because I always wondered, like... They were... Because when we're Kikka... Well, I guess what happens is usually I pick Kikka and I try to save Lou, and we're way behind. And then Bemelle and Margret are up ahead. I guess Margret always loses her glasses, because every time we come up across where she is, when we're crossing that bridge when it's on fire, she's always lost her glasses. And when you skip all the dialogue that you've seen before. So I feel like she's probably lost her glasses at this point. I'm going to save, let's say here. This is going to be Center Island. And we are going to go and talk to Margret first, because again, we're trying to get on her side. All right, let's go talk to Margret. My voice was too soft for her to hear me. Lingering for only a moment, I start following the trail Margret took. Yep, she lost her glasses. Guys, this story that Margret has, it's like, I can't relate, especially not being or having lived the life of a woman. It's just, I don't know, there certain things you take for granted, such as your sex, that, or at least me as a man, I take for granted that I don't experience the same things that a woman does. And she, being in a male-dominated society, just doesn't feel like things are going her way, that life works for her. And that's really sad, but even today, I feel like there are many women who feel the same. And not just women, but also people that identify as something else. they have stigmas and stereotypes that they have to fight against. And I, being a straight male, don't experience any of that. I have less of a hardship in that category. I have my own hardships, just the same as everyone else has hardships in their life, but hers, I've never experienced where there's no room for her in her life. You know what? Let's just read her story again. It is a strong, powerful story, and I think many of you that are watching can relate to her story, and hopefully the future has things that are brighter, and that the future gives you more opportunities and allows you to be able to be yourself, express yourself, and enjoy who you are, appreciate who you are, and enjoy the life that you have. But with all that, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or not. I hope that any of you out there have that opportunity, that ability. Life is difficult, and everybody has their own hardships, and yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I'm waxing poetic, as the saying goes. Let's continue. I catch up with Margret, and I notice that her eyes are glistening with tears. As I try to move closer, she turns on me sharply.
What do you want?
I take a step back and keep my voice low.
I was worried.
Well, there certainly is a lot to be worried about.
I can tell she does not appreciate my concern, but that's only to be expected. I've seen people react to grief and death in dozens of different ways, and she has every reason to be upset sitting on an island surrounded by a lake that breeds death.
I promise I will do everything I can to make sure you survive through the next night. So...
That's not the problem.
Her words begin strong, but falter and soften as she speaks. I can only watch her without the slightest idea of what to do. Margret sits atop a large mass of roots and covers her face with her hands. I step over to her and kneel down so that I can be at eye level again.
Margaret?
She twists her body away from me.
Leave me alone.
No, I will not leave you.
Margret huffs, looking my way again only to properly glare.
Do you even know why I came out here? It wasn't as though I had anywhere important to be.
Then, why? Why would you risk this journey?
Surely you already know the heart of my distress. Haven't you ever considered what you would do if you weren't able to be a god?
She makes a point too good to dismiss, and I inwardly flinch when I consider it.
Yes. I originally sought this path not because I wished to protect others, but because I was concerned for my own self.
I don't blame you. If I had your coordination and ability, I would have learned to fight as well. As it stands, I cannot change what I am. The settlement I come from is small, barely staving off collapse, really. The same as your town. You don't have to tell me which it is. They are all that way. My only real skill is the knowledge I've worked so hard to obtain. But, of course, a tiny village full of starving hunter-gatherers doesn't have much use for someone well-versed in history or management theories. Even if there are positions that require such knowledge, they are always given to those who are far older than myself.
And given the time, I would say they are mostly, or most likely, to be given to men, because it seems like this is an old-timey society, or old-timey story, and historically, positions of power have always been given to men. I'm sure there are, some instances where women have gained power, but I feel like that's usually probably through incident, such as being married to a king and the king dying off, for example, or bloodshed and violence, I think, in terms of Joan of Arc or something. I feel like when things are given, they're given to men. In this society in particular, the one in Lake of Voices. although probably in this real life society as well. Doesn't matter which society and which country you come from, it's all the same everywhere. To paraphrase Margret. Well, I guess I have heard that there are matriarchal societies or communities in Africa, so maybe that's not always the case, but certainly it is most prevalent in other societies where it's mostly a patriarchy.
So what am I supposed to do? Continue to barely survive by being one of many seamstresses? Keep being pushed around by any person more powerful or with higher social connections? Leaving there would only take me back to the same position. It won't ever change that way.
She drops her head into her hands and sobs. My heart aches as I kneel beside her, watching her shuddering form. I feel helpless, but what can I do? These problems are much different from what I have dealt with. Eventually, Margret seems to pull herself together.
No, I was tired of accepting those options. Sinnlos was my only chance. Only now do I realize how ridiculous a notion that is. Anyone who comes to this lake with a sense of hope will surely have it crushed.
You know, I'm not crossing Sinnlos, but when I play this game, I sometimes almost feel like I am. I don't know if that's because I'm getting immersed in the game every time, but, you know, every time it's like, oh, so depressive and like so downtrodden, but not a detriment to the game, because it's just written and constructed so well that you put yourself into that position. But oh, if you get to the other end and you get a good ending, oh man, does that feel good. It feels so good. And you know, I just had a thought about how, you know, she garnered her knowledge and created or fostered her own intelligence. And you know, one could say, you know, if the society that you're living in doesn't appreciate that and there's no reward for it, why would you cultivate and culture that skill set? And there is something to be said about that. If you're in a society where there is no modern society or anything close to it, or a sense of community, and the only thing that you had or needed was to have shelter and be able to provide food and water to yourself, why would you try to cultivate other skills other than that, you know, what you need for survival? You know, there is that side of it, and yeah, to a degree that is true. You know, if you are in a position or in an environment where nothing else is really suited for what if you are in a situation, an environment where only your survival is necessary, is all that should be considered, you know, maybe you shouldn't try to culture yourself to enrich your intelligence, because it's not necessary. But myself, and I'm sure others would say that those are the times where you absolutely need to have people who do that, because yes, survival is first and foremost, because without survival, without life, that's the end of the road. That's all there is to it. But should life only be about survival? If you don't have anybody that has intellectual or deep thoughts, what becomes of your life once you do get to a point where your survival is maybe not assured, but certainly secure, maybe, where you can provide food, you can provide shelter and water? If all your life is that much of a life for a human? Because isn't joy, isn't happiness, isn't leisure, luxury, excitement, aren't those things that provide the life? At least in modern society, how would we get to modern society without people prioritizing intelligence, furthering humanity, furthering technology, furthering our condition? People like Margret, especially in a society where all people think about is surviving. Like, people like her are absolutely necessary now and forever and always. We need them in order to further ourselves, to make life eventually better. It doesn't make things easy for the people of the time, but for us, the people in the future, the descendants, the people that get to live off of and get to benefit from the fruits of the labor of the people that came before us. These advancements, the prioritization of something other than survival, immediate survival, really enrich our lives and make us have a better life and get to a point where we can appreciate things. So I was just thinking that, yeah, it's not good that the position that she's in, and she's kind of fighting against the societal norms, and she's having a difficult time trying to find her place in it. But as a people, we need people like her. We need people who buck the trend, who work against, maybe not against society, but contrary to society as we know it. Because it's through this difference that we can see multiple possibilities, that we can see the things that are available or possible to us. I was just thinking that perhaps if you're in a position like her, maybe we need people like you in our society. Whatever it is that makes you feel different or separated from the rest of us. We need everybody. Everybody brings a different take, brings a different side, and enriches everyone else. I hope that for Margret, if and when she gets to the other side, that things are much better for her. I don't know what happens. If anything, it'd be cool if, she got to wherever she was going after, in a different town or a different city, and starts a business, maybe founds a school or a library and helps enrich people in her community and society. It feels like to me like she's just someone who wants to have a place, but also help people like her. Because, yeah, she wanted to replace the guide, but, she chose something where she was helping people. Maybe subconsciously, at some point, she was like, I enjoy helping people. I want to help people. Like she said, if she was more physically capable, she would have tried to be a guard, like Kikka. And even though Kikka said, it wasn't because she wanted to help people, but she wanted to help herself, but you could choose other professions where you could help yourself. But she chose one where the profession itself is to help others, like the mission of her profession. She could have chosen to be, I don't know, a logger, cutting down trees, even if she wasn't as strong as others. I mean, she could have been a farmer. That doesn't necessarily help others. She could have chosen to be, I don't know, an entertainer in the circus or something, if she's like very physically fit and active and capable. There are many other things, but she chose to be a guard. So maybe at some level she did want to help people, but her priority, her number one reason, was to help herself. And perhaps Margret is in the same vein. Anyways, back to the story.
Are you saying you wanted to become a guide?
Yes.
Yes. Laugh at my ambition if you wish. People may fear the current guide and may even blame him for the people he cannot save. But at least he has respect. Not only that, the heads of the area give him enough support to live a comfortable life. From all I'd gathered about the lake, being strong or good with a weapon didn't matter a lick. The most important qualities for a guide were being observant and shrewd, and being able to look past the struggles of someone else.
I think that's the part where she struggles the most. Look past the struggles of someone else. Because deep down, she cares for people. She like at the beginning of the game, or the trek, she was kind of a bee, you know? And I think that was her trying to act out the part, being someone different than who she is. But now, things having gone wrong, you know, shiz hitting the fan, and just all manner of stuff, and all the terror and the fright, the fear, the constant like sense of perhaps being hunted. I think it's worn her down to a point where she has shaken off her disguise. Her act is gone. She's just like, this is just her, raw. And maybe if she were able to take over the guide's job, maybe she could be more shrewd. Maybe she'd get to a point where she doesn't look to somebody's look to somebody's weakness and doesn't take account for their inability or their circumstance. But maybe all of that could be, and she could be exactly like the guide, but then she'd be no different from the guide, right? Because maybe he was at the same point too, and just doing the job that he has done has led him to be the way he is. I don't think that's the case. I think he was probably a lot of like a jerk from the get-go, just because in the beginning we learned that he was the son of Garvin, you know, a great warrior, a knight or something. And they had a falling out. They weren't compatible. Maybe not compatible, but they didn't live harmoniously. And it just seems as though it was probably because of the way he acts, maybe. But at the same time, maybe just his life growing up the way he did, it caused him. I don't know. There's a lot of things that go into why somebody is the way that they are. And I don't know enough about him to know anything. All I know is that he was the son of Garvin, and he, quote unquote, helps people cross Sinnlos, and that he's kind of a jerk. Maybe not kind of a jerk, he is a total jerk. But how much of that is him and how much of that is him being the guide? I don't know. That's a question for another day, I suppose.
And how wrong I was.
Her voice rises.
I haven't the slightest ability to deal with sinking bridges and confrontations with those horrible monsters. And even though I thought I'd lost all ability to care about the troubles of others, I still feel awful about what happened earlier.
That's only human. I've heard stories about how people go to war as soldiers, and they're the kindest hearted people that you may know, and then, you know, war turns them into people that don't care about others' emotions. But I guess also the converse is true, where somebody goes into war being a complete jerk, comes back appreciating life. So I don't know. I guess everybody's different, huh? But I guess she's always cared about people, and that's a difficult thing to change about a person without extreme trauma to change that.
I haven't a chance.
of making it as a guide, which means I have no hope anywhere.
She covers her face once more and resumes her cries. Hesitantly, I reach out and place my hand on her shoulder. Surprisingly, she doesn't shake it off. We sit quietly like that for several moments.
You don't have to be a guide. Once this is over, you never have to come back here. There has to be something else out there for you. And if something does not yet exist, then we can create it ourselves.
That's a go-getter mentality, a go-getter attitude. And today, especially, there's so much ability to be able to do that. You know, if you don't feel like you fit in with the current professions, with the current society, you can strike it out and go out there and make something for yourself. Who would have thought 10, 15 years ago that you could earn a living as a YouTuber, right? There are people out there that do that, like Mr. Beast, he does that. Casey Neistat, he does that. A whole bunch of travel vloggers, food YouTubers. Like, who would have thought? I'm not one of them. I have a 9-to-5, and I just do this when I am able to find the time. But yeah, you, especially today, you can make something for yourself. You may or may not succeed, but you have the opportunity to do so. And just like Kikka is saying, you know, if she had help, it makes it easier to do. It makes it become more of a reality or a possibility than something that's just impossible. I think that's a powerful message, especially to people who can relate to the two of them. Margret chortles a bit.
What a silly idea.
But if I did have to choose between returning to the normal world or staying here, I'd rather go back home.
I second that. I squeeze her shoulder, and she at last looks up at me, the tears gone from her eyes.
Thank you for sharing this with me.
Yeah, being so vulnerable with people is so difficult. It really is. We put up so many walls between us that when we shed them, it feels both liberating, but at the same time incredibly scary, where the facade that we put up to shield us, to protect us from others, goes away, and all you're left with is the raw person underneath. It is exhilarating and yet also incredibly frightening. But you know, when you get to points like that and you can trust the person that you're with to be vulnerable like that, and they can actually fulfill that trust, they can keep it, it's an amazing thing. You know, it feels like they're already, you know, BFFs. And maybe if it weren't for the times that they live in, maybe they would be BFFs, you know, just like chatting back and forth, you know, I don't know, snapping back and forth, pics, you know, their food pics. Be like, yo, Margret, I just went to and got this thing called a boba drink. Yo, Kikka, isn't that awesome? And guess what? I just got my nails done at the salon. Look at this, girlfriend. Can you just imagine? That'd be so, like, that'd be really interesting. Like, if they came to live in our society.
Thank you for listening. You have an unexpectedly soft heart.
She must have noticed the slight twinge in my face.
That isn't a bad thing, Kikka.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the bad part is the unexpectedly, because, you know, having a soft and kind heart is not a bad thing. But I suppose if you're trying to be a badass, that kind of hurts your rep, you know? I look away, eyes toward the ground.
I know it can hurt to care, but it also lets you lessen the pain of others. I think it would be much better if everyone cared a little bit more, rather than less.
I agree. If everybody could get to a point where they could care about their fellow person, I think the world itself would be a much better and easier place to live. I feel tears forming in my eyes now as I smile back at Margret.
Thank you.
Margret returns my look. I take a seat on the roots beside her, and for a time we sit in silence, simply being there for one another. Eventually, I turn towards her.
Perhaps we should go check how everything is on the island.
Margret nods.
That seems like a fair thing to do. We can't keep sitting here forever, unfortunately. I'll come with you.
Are you sure you'll be alright without your glasses? There are a lot of places to catch your foot or dress on.
Margret laughs lightly.
I'm sure I'll be fine.
Yeah, because Kikka, you just gave her a whole load of confidence and brightened her day a bit, and she now feels like she can tackle the things that are going to happen going forward. Alright, I'm going to save here. And I just want to bring up that in the original Misunderstood Margret run, I got to this point and I put out the thought, like, you know, that perhaps there, like, I was maybe not agonizing, but I was struggling with which one would not offend her, you know? And I don't remember what I chose. I don't remember what I chose, but someone had commented that, is this what men think? Like, well, you know, trying to struggle between what people thought about their actions with a woman, and to agree, yeah, there is a little bit of that if you don't want to offend somebody, because everybody's different. It's hard to tell, and some people, not everyone, but some people are difficult. You know, you could make a decision that was perfectly fine for one person, and instead of understanding that other person, they get angry, not for you not choosing the specific action that they would have wanted you to do. Like, for example, for a man, is it better to hold a door open for a woman, or is that a proper gentlemanly behavior, or is that treating her like she's frail and not able to do it for herself? Is that kindness, or is that rudeness? If, depending on a certain era, that was gentlemanly, that was something that was expected of men. But today, maybe there's less of that, and that's more of an insulting thing. It's hard to tell. For how we're going here with Margret, I don't know, because they've Kikka and Margret, they both have kind of shared an intimate moment here, and they've kind of pushed each other to get to a point where they can carry on. And I feel like in this instance, right now, I feel like maybe it would be good for us to offer her our arm. Maybe that isn't insulting to her, that she wouldn't be able to get up on her own. Maybe it's just a gesture of friendly gesture. So I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna go. I think what I did last time is I chose that's good and didn't offer her my arm, because I think at the time I decided that, you know, we would give her the opportunity to help herself up. But we're going to offer her our arm, because I think in this instance today, my thought is we're going to help her out, not only just mentally by talking to her and listening and even sympathizing or even empathizing with her, but also we're going to physically be there for her and support her by offering her our arm. I don't know if the game considers this as an extra intimacy step with Margret, but I am going to consider it as an extra intimacy step. So we're going to offer her arm. She sighs softly and chides me teasingly.
Really, you are too much.
Oh, look at that. She's blushing. Oh. Ooh. She then accepts. Together, we head towards the interior of the island. Margret and I head through the wooded part of the island. There isn't anything that could be called a path, but we manage to pick our way through the brush quite well. Through a thinner stand of trees, we briefly catch sight of the guy standing on one of the beaches. He seems fine, but even though I'm sure he turned his head toward me, he makes no show of acknowledging us. We move on and eventually find Bemelle in a jagged clearing, leaning against a tree. He's already noticed us and is looking our way, smiling. As we approach, I pick up on the sadness behind his jovial expression.
How are you faring? Any problems?
Everything is fine. We came to check on you.
How kind. I've calmed down since then.
I'm glad to hear that. Is there any way I can help or anything you'd like to say?
He raises an eyebrow at that, still grinning.
I didn't expect to see you so worried about me, Kikka.
Come on, boy. I have to force myself not to avert my eyes at that moment. Or comment, rather. Embarrassment flowing into me.
You ought to not question it, you know. Simply be thankful for all her thoughtfulness.
He nods and chuckles heartily.
Right.
I feel a warmth that turns my lips up into a shy smile. Margret nods approvingly. Bemelle glances between Margret and I, smiling coyly over the exchange. His amusement doesn't last, however. Instead, he throws his arms out wide with a sour expression.
Have you seen the guide?
Bemelle is clearly asking out of a sense of obligation and makes no secret that he's not pleased to be discussing the guide. I nod in response.
I saw him earlier. He is the same as always.
Good, good. In that case, I'm going to stretch my legs for a bit. I feel stiff from standing in one place for so long.
Wait, I can't help but wonder if it's the best idea to keep splitting up and wandering off. We've all had time to ourselves to think. I believe we should stay together now.
Yeah, because just like in horror movies, splitting up is the wrong idea.
She has a point. We can't be sure how safe this island truly is.
Yeah, especially since the guide said that they can come up on land. You know, they don't come up during the day, but they could come up on land, and you never know. You get stuck in something, you fall into a hole or a ditch, and you can't get out, and now the prowlers come up on land, and you're dead.
Well, I've had my fair share of being difficult lately. I can accept that if you feel so strongly about it.
We do, indeed.
I'd still like to take a walk, if you two don't mind joining me.
Oh, yay, yay, we get to take a walk with Bemelle. Hey, that rhymed. We don't have much time to contemplate the offer before he chimes in once more.
I could also go for a nap.
I'm always up for a nap, especially after work. Man, some days I sign off from work and I'm like, okay, I gotta go lie down, pop up a YouTube video, and I'm snoozing. Like, snoozing, snoring. I smile softly at his attempt to be accommodating to us despite our sudden intrusion. I would not mind walking, Kikka says. Bemelle grins and glances over at Margret.
What do you think?
I am the one who wanted us to stick together. I'm not going to put a wedge in the plan. I'll come along.
Oh, yay! Last time in the Bay Bemelle 2 run, we spoke with Bemelle, and did we have the option to go on a walk with Margret or not? I don't remember. But we didn't go on a walk with her. But I wonder if we had the option. I can't remember. It was so long ago.
Glad to hear it.
Glad to hear that it was so long ago, Bemelle. Come on, man. I know. I'm sorry, everyone out there that's been looking forward to this. I sincerely apologize. It's just very difficult to get a chunk of time together to be able to play like a session. You know, I want to do one from beginning to end because sometimes it's just so long between play sessions that I forget what happened the last time. So yeah, I just, all I can do is I can apologize, but I hope that you guys are enjoying so far. I want to copy another YouTuber or several other YouTubers that I've seen. If you've gotten this far and you're enjoying this, in the comments below, please put in, please comment BFF if you've gotten this far. BFF, best friends forever. Just like these three. Oh my god. The three of us begin our walk, conversing lightly as we meander around the island. As we walk, I can feel my worries easing into a light burden. I peek over at Bemelle and Margret, noticing the brightness in their eyes, the cheer in their voices, and know they feel the same. After all the horror of the night, finally we have a reprieve. Bemelle speaks animatedly as he finishes another of his tales.
So he tries to force his way into that old barn by kicking the door open. His foot ends up going right on through the wood and gets stuck.
Oh, that's great, Bemelle. I could never have imagined him doing that. Oh my goodness, that's such a great story. Can you tell it again? Sorry, that was stupid. Margret and I exchange a look, sharing unspoken amusement.
I'm curious. This fellow guard you've been speaking of wouldn't happen to be a stand-in for yourself, would he?
Oh. Oh, Bemelle, Margret called you out.
He certainly wouldn't. Must you always doubt my word?
I don't know, how much of a truth is there in that word? Bemelle playfully feigns distress while Margret laughs.
Yes, Kikka's far too polite, so someone has to keep you from getting too big-headed.
I don't know, I feel like Kikka would be the type to be able to put him back in his place.
Fine, fair enough. But what if I told you the fellow guard in my story was actually Kikka?
No way. You lying.
Then I'd have to tease her for committing a blunder that seems like one you would make, of course.
Oh, good one, Margret.
You're a harsh one, Margaret. I'm not safe from your verbal lashings no matter what I say.
Well, you have to have the intelligence to keep up with her, Bemelle. Not saying that you're dumb. I'm just saying that Margret has a lot more gray matter than you do. I mean, she did cultivate her brain over her physique. And as a guard, you would have to cultivate your physique over your brain. Not to say that you have to neglect it, but, you know, more time spent on one thing than another.
You make it much too easy for me.
Ooh, she got you, boy. Margaret's grinning, full of mirth. She looks towards me.
Kikka, you aren't upset by that, are you?
Her face grows with concern. She's probably questioning if she's taken it too far by targeting me. I smile warmly and shake my head.
I'm glad to be included.
Margret immediately looks relieved, returning to her jokingly snobbish expression. This familiar exchange with her has made me brave. I take a deep breath.
And in all fairness, I'd also have to give myself a difficult time if I made a mistake befitting Bemelle.
Oh, Bemelle, you got it from two sides. You got it from both Kikka and Margret. Oh boy, good thing he's such a good-natured man, right? Right? You ladies know. I glance between Bemelle and Margret nervously, trying to gauge their reactions to my attempt at adding to the conversation. After a moment, they both start to smirk. Then Bemelle lets out a hearty laugh.
I can't believe I've been betrayed this way. After all we've been through.
He's a good sport, man. He's a good sport. Margret smoothly applauds my efforts. I smile timidly at their reactions.
You've come so far, Kikka.
Right? You've grown so much. My little girl has become a great and powerful woman. Margret gazes at me fondly. Ooh. Ooh, look at this, guys. Look at this. I'm going to save real quick. So, this is interesting here. So, if we gaze back, let me go back one. All right, so she gazes at me fondly. So, if we avoid eye contact. Okay, I will willingly admit I'm probably reading too much into this, but if we avoid eye contact, that could either mean that we're like, oh, no, thank you, or it could be like, ooh, you know, kind of like flirty, oh my goodness. But if we gaze back, do we gaze back like glaring, or are we gazing back like, oh, you girl? I feel like gaze back is the right option, so we're gonna go that way. I catch Margret's eyes, and we spend a moment sharing a gentle connection. That feels like the right move. For a brief moment, all of the troublesome circumstances seem to float away from our minds, and we enjoy each other's company. I wish I could go on for so much longer, but it's only a while later that I have to speak up.
We really should rest before nightfall.
I'm fine with that idea.
All right.
Bemelle leads us over to the area where the guide mentioned we were going to meet. Margret and I sit together. She lightly rests her head against my shoulder. Oh, wait. Are they not like sisters? Like sisters from another mister? Or is this kind of like a romantic connection? I don't know. Honestly, I never even considered that. Like, what if Kikka swings the other way, you know? And what if Margret's receptive to that? Huh. Never even crossed my mind. The three of us sit quietly waiting for the guide's arrival, occasionally chatting with one another as we rest. The sky turns orange as sunset comes upon us. As the color seems to drain from the world, being consumed by the fog, the guide makes his appearance. I think I mentioned it before, but I love when the sky looks like this, where it's like a mess of different pastel watercolor colors, and it's just like almost surreal, like a painting, where like real life becomes a painting for just a short while, and it's just so cool to be able to look up and just gaze and see what nature can do, you know?
It's almost time.
I nod and feel myself grow tense. We truly are about to return to those bridges. All of us wait in an uncomfortable silence until night falls. We silently stand as one, forming a vigil of sorts. Our remaining lanterns illuminate the dark, prepared for tonight's journey. And yet, the way forward does not appear. The bridges haven't arisen from their depths. Guys, when the bridges didn't come up, and the first time that this happened, oh my god, I got so excited. If you want to hear me get so super excited, go back, watch Bemelle 2. But like, oh my god, I was just like, what? Oh my god, it's just like crazy. I wonder if there's going to be something similar, or if it's just going to play out the same. Realistically, you got to work on the game, create all the paths and stuff. I would imagine that it pretty much plays out the same. But I mean, the fact that this showed up all of a sudden for me like blew my mind. So who knows? Let's just see where this goes, right? I glance to my side. The guide doesn't look at all pleased. The corners of his mouth have a harsh bent as he briefly loses himself to heavy thoughts.
We must go to the shore.
He doesn't offer an explanation for why. Instead, he goes on without us. I follow after the guide, my forehead creasing with swelling worry. Behind me, I hear Bemelle's and Margret's unsure footsteps. The four of us press onto the shore. The dark waters lap at the edges of the sand, and as expected, the maze is still hidden beneath the surface. The guide grips his staff tighter still, his knuckles turning ghostly white. He sucks in a breath of air like he's about to speak, but he hesitates. We all stare at him expectantly. After a moment more, the guide is fed up with waiting.
The bridges are late. If they don't arrive as soon as darkness falls, there's no telling exactly how long it will be before they do.
Bemelle's face immediately sours, and he isn't able to stay silent about his feelings.
So we're going to waste our time standing idly by. There's hardly enough time to make the trip as it is.
Complaining won't make these bridges come any sooner, though I sympathize with your frustrations. The wait had already been tense as it was. Not knowing how much longer it will last makes it that much more dreadful.
Time is by far the least of our worries. On the bridges we are constantly moving, which makes it easier to avoid the prowlers. However, this island does not offer that luxury. We're trapped here.
Hearing that, I don't remember if I had this thought. But that means that the trip across Sinnlos is much more fraught with danger than initially thought. Because, yeah, crossing over the bridges is incredibly dangerous. And people die all the time crossing through the bridges. But then, the unknown, hidden danger is that you always have to wait on the center island. And if the bridges don't come up, that is a danger in and of itself. Like, there's nothing you can do. You have nowhere to run. What are you gonna do? Swim? That's where they get you. You can't hide because they come up on land. And you could try to hide, but they could probably find you if they're swarming around. And who knows, like, if they're ethereal or if they have like some unknown extra sense that can sniff you out. It's just like, it's more dangerous than you initially think. And I don't think the guide ever makes mention that this is a possibility. I mean, I get it. If it's like a 2% chance of something happening, you're not likely to make mention of it. Unless you're in America and you're providing a service and you have to have your client or customer sign off a document waiving any liabilities for you so that if it happens, that you're not responsible. But even then, it's like, come on now. My body goes rigid as his words sink in.
More importantly, the bridges are raised above the waters. Nixi have difficulties pulling themselves up onto the bridges. The soft sloping of the shore will allow far more prowlers to drag themselves towards us.
Wink. Yep, that's gonna be great.
Not all will be as dangerous as the ones we've encountered thus far. However, we could easily be overwhelmed.
A pit forms deep in my stomach. I stare at him, aghast. I had no idea the situation was that dire. I glance from the waterline to the trees. What I'm looking for, I don't know. A sign of what might be to come, perhaps.
I wonder if those fires had anything to do with this.
Bemelle's words are as biting as he wonders aloud. The guide answers Bemelle, firmly wanting to put an end to his speculation.
No. Whatever magic controlling the bridges is inconsistent. Humans haven't found a way to impact it. We can only do temporary physical damage to the boards.
You know, originally when I read this, I focused on the humans haven't found a way to impact it. Like, it's worded in such a way that he's saying that humans are something that he isn't. But now upon this reading, I can see it says we can only do temporary damage. So at that point, is he including himself in the humans terminology or reference, or not? Bemelle is still displeased. Yeah, not knowing whether he's human or not, I am in agreement. I don't know how many hours I put into this game, but I still don't know whether he's human, or if he's good or bad, or what. Margret moves into discussion. Her mood is rapidly declining as well.
Then what should we do? We shouldn't stay on the shore if the monsters could be coming towards us at any moment.
The guide closes his eyes and suddenly looks very worn down.
Staying in the center of the island is the safest option. However, there's the risk that we may not be able to reach the bridges when they do rise. Prowlers could have taken full control of the shore by then. Remaining here with our lanterns will ensure the prowlers cannot move freely.
My brows involuntarily knit together. I don't like the sound of taking additional risks in an area that is already so dangerous, but our options are thin. Okay, so far it looks like everything's kind of falling into the same step and the same circumstances as last time in the Bemelle 2 run. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to save here into a new slot, and I'm going to skip forward and see if the decisions are still the same or not. And we're just going to move on from there. Oh. Okay, so where are we here? Trying to see what this decision is for. As if to answer my own question, a thought whispers into my mind, and I look down at the lantern in my hand. I could throw it, as long as I don't let it get too far down the shore. It doesn't seem plausible that a Nix could take it. But if I do lose the lantern, especially after Margret lost hers only moments ago, then... Alright, so... This is us, where we need to help Bemelle and Margret get to the bridge. And we can throw our lantern to smash it in order to clear a path for them to run to the bridge. Or I guess we could see and watch what happens. Oh. Let me save here. Alright, I'm going to save here. Man. I feel like the right decision is to throw the lantern, right? Throw the lantern and help clear a path for them to come. However, I wonder if having encouraged Margret, I wonder if that instills in her a fight, like within her spirit, like a fight that she wants to like fight for her life, for her survival, for her future. I wonder if that causes her to like be more clever, and maybe she can find a way out of this. I don't know. I want to trust that she can come up with something, but at the same time, I mean, it is a game, so like there is clearly a right and wrong here. Having saved though, I think let's take the option of watching to see if Margret can come up with something. But if if it ends up in a death, I'll just reload and we'll pretend like nothing ever happened. Right? Okay, cool, got it. All right, you in the back. Yep, you good? Okay. All right, cool. All right, we're gonna watch. I can't act rashly here. The guide has managed through every situation we've been through, as well as countless others we did not bear to witness to. I resolve to continue with what we've planned and keep my position. Without flinching, the guide keeps hold of our position on the waterline. I periodically switch between watching him, the others, and the rest of the shore. As I scan the forest, there's a stinging groan. Was that the guide? It can't be. Wait. Let me go back here. What? Did I get the situation wrong here? Alright, let me see. He remains where he is, resolving to keep all the monsters near him in his sight. I grow more unnerved the longer I watch this. The guide seemed impervious to the dangers of Sinnlos. This is the first case where I can't tell whether he will continue to be fine as always or not. It's a distressing notion. As they creep ever closer, I can't stay silent any longer.
Your safety is most important. Consider retreating.
He doesn't face me, but replies.
I cannot do that. Nixi recognize signs of weakness. Backing away will only increase the odds of them attacking.
Oh. This is in regards to the guide, whether we toss him our lantern. Yeah, so Margret had lost her lantern. And so, oh man. Okay, so this is actually a different decision than I thought. So either we sit here and watch the guide figure out what happens. Like, you know, he's just standing there just like chilling and hoping that the Nixi don't come after him. Or we can help him out, which means that he wouldn't be wounded, because not helping him out here causes him to be wounded. So if we help him out, do we actually help him out and then he's not wounded, and then we have a totally different circumstance here? But then I forget what happens with Bemelle and with Margret. I mean, we've done something different almost every choice that we've had so far. Maybe I should continue the trend and do something different here. So maybe here what I should do is perhaps I should, instead of watching, maybe I should help him out. And so he doesn't get wounded. And then perhaps something different will happen. You know what? Maybe it'd be worth figuring that out to see what happens here if we don't let him get wounded. So yeah, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do that. We'll choose not to have him be wounded, and we'll try to help him out and see what happens from there.